Hey, how's my favorite class doing? Someday I'm going to learn to look into the camera instead of staring at myself, which I don't even enjoy doing, so I don't know why I do it. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess is what it is. Geez, I miss you guys. Every time some kind of issue comes up, I just want to grab the phone and call all of you. Like last night at midnight, Kane Brown's new song was released, and oh boy, maybe I'll put that up on the discussion board. He's probably, along with Luke Combs, the most successful country artist of the last couple of years, and maybe we'll have a whole class on how is this possible, and maybe today's lecture is about evaluating songs and recordings, etc., and maybe we can dissect the song and say whether it's good or it's bad, but it's vintage Kane Brown, that's for sure. So today what we're going to talk about is being able to listen to something, and as an A&R person, helping to develop an artist. That is, they go in and they write a song or they make a recording and they bring it to you. What you want to do is you want to have the reaction that Ahmet Ertegun had about In the Air Tonight, which is a great song by any measure if you apply some of these criteria that I have here. But typically it's not that. And he was saying people bring in a song and say, hey, this is a great song. He says, no, this is a great song. This is not. And there are reasons why it's not. And I know that we feel this kind of thing on a gut level, but there's really kind of a discipline to it that depending upon what genre, right now I'm going to talk about mainstream and commercial music, there's reasons why a song either appeals to you or it doesn't. And, if it doesn't and you're developing an artist, what you need to do is to supplement it with some things that will make it stronger. And that's really been the history of the recording industry and developing artists as they come in like the Beatles or the Doors or U2 or whoever, and they're not that good, and their songs are not that good. But eventually, they turn into something much, much better because either they develop themselves, or more likely, their A&R person or somebody had a hand in guiding them toward a more successful strategy for making a hit record. So that's what we're going to be doing here right now. And as I say, I'm talking about commercial music and some rules and things that you should live by. However, some of the most successful songs break these rules, and certainly these rules are not the same for all genres. Some genres are defined by the fact that they don't adhere to these rules. So let's just look at it so that when you're listening to something, and maybe at the end of this, or maybe right now, we'll try to figure out some songs to put up on the discussion board and say, hey, like for instance, let's do it with this one for sure. Len and Stella, who last time I told you they've been trying to break forever, this might be her fifth or sixth song that they're trying to do that with. So when you're doing something like that, you're investing a whole lot of money into somebody, and that song better be right, and they whiffed 4 times. So now they have this new song, whose name escapes me, Better Off Alone, Left, I swore I would remember it. Whatever it is, I'll figure it out. They're trying again, and this may be her last chance. And then let's just see if you're the record label and she's doing a recording like this and she brings it to you. Is this the one that you want to bet on, that you want to shell out the money for? Or could you have been present in the studio? Could you be hearing the song in a demo? Can you be hearing the song as they're tracking it? Can you hear the song before they mix the song? And at various stages of it say, hey, you know what? I think for this, in order to be successful, this song needs to be elevated in one way or another, and that's what we're trying to do right here. So here's some tips for song improvement. I hope you have your outline in front of you because it's helpful for you to take notes. I have notes myself. They're in chicken scrawl, so chances of me being able to read them while I do this are slim and none. All right, first of all, the title. This isn't a big deal, of course, but just to have a title that's catchy and original and that grabs people's attention and that appears in the song, for instance, and maybe appears frequently in the song and in the chorus is important. Not that important, but important for a couple of reasons. We had this, one of the first artists signed to the MTSU label way back in the day. I think it was in the 1800s. It was a band called Overzealous. Go listen to them. Fronted by a true rock star, Dustin Sellers. I mean, he looked the part. He was a rock star. And a pretty good songwriter at a time where people were doing, guitar-based band stuff. And they had a hit song that they thought was a hit song. We thought it was kind of a hit song, given it was an indie college band. And it was called Apples and Girls. Apples and Girls. Hmm. And it was neither about apples nor girls, because that would be an interesting song. I guess it could be about Eve in the Bible, but it wasn't. It could be about Fiona Apple, who's both an apple and a girl. That that album, by the way, is the most positively reviewed album in my lifetime. I don't know if you guys have paid any attention, but everybody's writing about it, raving about it, saying it's not very commercial. And there's a Lefsetz article about it, if you're still reading that. That's really interesting. But there's all sorts of stuff being written. Almost every periodical, from MSNBC to The Ringer to The New Yorker to The New York Times, is spending quite a bit of time talking about it. I think it behooves you to give it a listen, give it a try, and see what all the fuss is about. My daughter, who is already a confirmed Fiona Apple fan, and my son, I have 2 out of 4 of them, love Fiona Apple. And the album came out on her birthday on Friday. She thought it was a personal birthday present, which was good because I didn't get her anything. It's the coronavirus. Come on, give me a break. So she has listened to it. What is today? Thursday? So last Friday. She's listened to it approximately 100 times. She is absolutely obsessed with this record. So give it a listen. Anyway, where was I? They had a song called Apples and Girls. There was no apples, there was no girls. I told him, change the title. Why is it called Apples and Girls? He said, well, when I wrote it, it really was basically just an A chord and a G chord, and I was trying to remember the song and how I did it, and so I just called it Apples and Girls, so I would remember that it was A and G. And I said, okay, well, that was good, you know, then. But Paul McCartney, when he was trying to remember the melody for Yesterday, named it Scrambled Eggs. Scrambled eggs, how I love to eat those scrambled eggs. But when he rewrote the song and put it out, he changed the song to Yesterday because it probably was a more effective title. So he wouldn't change it though. So go listen to it. It's on Spotify. Overzealous, Apples and Girls. Kind of a catchy little tune, but he wouldn't change the name. So it's important for a couple of reasons. First of all, if somebody ever heard the song way back in the day before we had Google and Shazam, they would have to go to a record store or somewhere and say, you have that song something? And, if it was this song that was named Apples and Girls, there was no Apples and Girls in the song, so we wouldn't say it was a song about apples and girls. So for that reason, it might be important back in the day. Still might be, as you're trying to search for something and find some lyrics and hook it up with something. So it's important for that reason. Today it's important, I think, a little bit. Again, if you read the Lefsetz letter, he writes about how playlists, their importance is a little overblown, and because there's so many songs in the playlist. When you look at the New Music Friday, you skip through some and don't listen to them at all, or you give one 10 seconds to grab your attention. So it may not be an effective promotional tool for some records. If you have an interesting title, people might be more likely to click on it. Just like if you had an interesting album cover, it has nothing to do with the music, but it's something that grabs somebody's attention. So if you're scrolling down and there's 60 songs, you don't want to listen to all of them, and you see this one says "Love Always Wins," you go, well, that doesn't sound too interesting or original to me. Breaking up is hard to do. Oh, I don't know. Seems like that song's been written 100 times. What's this? O'Brien is a loser. Never heard anything like that. Let me just check that out. So it could be important for that. Not a big deal. It also signals what you think is important about the song, so it helps to guide the listener as to how to listen to it in some ways. All right. Time. Timing is everything. That's what they say in comedy. It's also true in hit records. Your intro should be relatively short, somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds usually. Again, for the people that are sampling songs, if you're not getting to it right away, sometimes they just say forget about it if it goes on too long. So that could be really important for you to get to the song early. That's also important when you're shipping something out to radio or whenever you're trying to make a first impression with the song, is that get to it. So, the thing that's impressive about it jumps out at somebody. Not that, okay, just listen, just wait. No, wait, it's another 20 seconds. Just wait. Here it comes. You don't want to do that. So generally speaking, that's what you want to do. Get into that song early. Sometimes the song is too long or too short. And this has implications at radio, but also people's tolerance and patience, etc., for something to be a long song. Not that you can't violate this. Hey Jude by the Beatles was maybe their biggest selling single, and it was over 7 minutes long. So it violated that rule. There are always exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, you should keep songs short, not too short, so that it's not a compelling experience, but short enough. This is especially important these days because you get paid on plays, and the longer your song is, the fewer plays somebody can sit through. And if you have a shorter song, and people can play it over and over and over again. That's kind of the history of popular music, is these really short songs, Beatles songs, Ramones songs, all really under 3 minutes. But anything up to 3.5 minutes is usually acceptable. So also for the when you're playing the past the aux chord, right? So everybody gets to choose a song. Do you do that? I know there's no aux chord anymore, but when you take turns playing songs, okay, it's my turn, and then you play a 6-minute song, your friends are going to be mad at you. So it's better just to go in and out, say what you got to say, and leave them wanting a little more. Verses or choruses too long or too short. The ear is trained to listen to things in a certain way, and to if you stay too long on one thing, whether it's a verse or a chorus, it loses its power, or the ear gets tired of hearing it. So it's really important to get into those verses and then get out. Maybe there's a pre-chorus, maybe there's a chorus, but have those be of the right length. Somebody like Bruce Springsteen, who early in his career, you might notice that I'm referencing things that I'm familiar with and that I like. You will apply these same things to your various disciplines. I'll try to cross genres, but I'm going to talk about the things I've witnessed and I enjoy and understand. So Bruce Springsteen's first 2 albums, I'm a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Not of everything he does, because I'm too old for that. I love some artists like Bruce Springsteen and U2 and could throw out half their albums without a second thought. Anyway, his first 2 albums, when he was supposed to be the savior of rock and roll, did not succeed. But it was a time in this business where artists were developed, and if you believed in Bruce Springsteen, you put out album number 1, meh. Put out album number 2, meh. Keep going. And so they kept going. And one of the things they had to do is to cut these rambling songs down. There were these verses that were just extraordinarily long. They were songs that were designed to play live, and they were killer live. But for a record, it really wasn't appropriate. It wasn't until the 3rd album, Born to Run, where even that particular song, John Landau, Bruce Springsteen's manager, came in to kind of produce this thing. He had to try to push his other manager to the side, and he tried to tighten up the song. Hey, he did still have songs like Jungle Land and a couple others that were rambling, but for Born to Run, he said, let's just cut this down. Let's make the verses short, the chorus is short. It becomes more catchy that way, because then you get to have a little bit more repetition as well as variety in the same dose. So, and it was that album that launched him. And then they took that even further, like 8 years later, and a couple albums later, to the album Born in the USA, where it was intentionally condensed and made to sound more pop-like. So you have a song like Dancing in the Dark. You should listen to those 2 songs. Born to Run, I really recommend the acoustic version, which if we were live in class, I would play for you. I'd get my guitar from my office and I'd come down and play. It's the only song I've ever played live in my life before an audience. I've done it several times, so it's pretty good. It's not really. Anyway, Born to Run and Dancing in the Dark, those 2 songs. Really, really great songs. I don't know how you could think otherwise. Anyway, I'm trying to sell you on stuff. All right, so watch that. Watch too many or too few verses and choruses. Okay, so if there's too many of them and you kind of get lost, if there's too few of them, then it's just not enough to make it a great song. So I think of, in that respect, a song by the Civil Wars called Poison and Wine. I think that's the name of it, Poison and Wine. I love that song. I love it. I love it. It could be one of the greatest songs ever, but it's not. And the reason it's not is that there's not enough to it. They have two little short verses and then repeat the chorus a bunch of times. And if they had just done a few more verses for that song, maybe a bridge or something, to make it longer and just expand upon the great theme that was in that song, it would be one of the greatest songs of all time. But it's not, simply because there's just not enough of it. So that might be something. And then the outro, I'm a big fan of getting out of that song and not repeating, the chorus 150 times, or an extended instrumental part at the end of the song. Generally speaking, now there are exceptions to something like this. Hotel California with that rambling last couple minutes, maybe it's 3 minutes, who knows how long it is. That's really effective. But generally speaking, not a good idea, and will lengthen the song unnecessarily. All right, the hook, the hook, the hook. I don't even know how to talk about the hook. I don't even know what a hook means. Hook. Most commercially successful songs have a hook. They have a hook. What is a hook? I don't know. Where does that terminology even come from? I should have Googled that. Does it have to do with a fish hook? That you're catching somebody? Capturing somebody's attention? Is that what it is? And I think, most songs need to do that in one way or another, or in several ways if possible. But that hook can appear and be manifested in a number of different ways. It could be the title, as I say, something catchy and hooky about the title. In a riff, maybe AC/DC's success is almost totally born of the fact that they create these catchy, riffy things. Dun, 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 dun. Did you have to do that last part yourself? I don't know if you did or not. Who else is like that? Def Leppard. Yeah, this is called O'Brien's Stupid Musical Taste, is what it's called. But it can be in a riff, a guitar riff, or really any kind of instrument can deliver that riff. It could be in the lyric. Talk about lyrics separately, but something lyrically that's very hooky. It could be the melody. Think of how, I don't know, scrambled eggs, how I love to eat those scrambled eggs. That song's attractiveness and hookiness and invitation and catchiness and capturedness is all in that somehow magic melody of that song. It's the most covered song in the history of the world, I do believe. It's really, really successful. And, when you look at the words are, I don't know, they're good, I guess. But it's really just that melody, that sad, wistful, rueful, mournful kind of melody that's there that is responsible for the entire success of the song, I believe. A melody is one of the most mysterious things in the world. There are some musicologists that can tell you how that works. There's a book. It's called This Is Your Brain on Music, something like that, and a scientific book about how the brain is affected by music and what in music makes people feel certain ways. And then there's also another book by David Byrne, I don't remember the name of that one, from Talking Heads, that talks about the same kind of phenomena. But there's something magical about a certain kind of order of notes, and it's hard to replicate. But when it happens, it happens. And there's many good examples of that. It could be in the chorus, just the catchiness or melody or anthemic quality of a chorus, something that's very anthemic, which is important not just for the hook and the catchiness, but also, as I think I mentioned last time, for live performances, etc. Very important. All right, can't have too many hooks too, because if you have too many hooks, then you have no hooks, because a hook is a thing that kind of defines a song, and you can't have several hooks defining a song. It's sort of like I have it there. When you have two quarterbacks, you have none. So when University of Florida said we're going to platoon these two quarterbacks, he's going to play the first quarter, he's going to play the second quarter. When you have more than one quarterback, you have no quarterback, is the way it is. And so we had another artist, one of the early signings to an MTSU label. His name was Charlie Murphy. I don't know if his stuff is up on Spotify. It might be Charlie Murphy, not that Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy, not that Charlie Murphy. He spelled it differently, but really a tremendously gifted songwriter and performer. He had he's still going. He has several tragic qualities in my mind that kept him from being very successful. But one of them was he wrote songs. He was such a gifted songwriter. A lot of his songs had like 5 hooks in them, and I'd say, Charlie, don't use all these hooks in this one song, because then there's no hook that is defining that song. He wouldn't listen, but that's a problem. So it's a problem finding a hook, and then it's a problem when you have too many hooks. So watch that. As far as lyrics are concerned, this is big. This is big. Lyrics. I'm a lyric guy. So, this stuff is important to me. I guess one thing that I forgot to put on this sheet is just lyrically. Some people like lyrics in some genres. Lyrics are defined by how literal they are, that their lyrics tell you something. They tell you something very specifically. They're very easy to understand, and they touch you in a deep and meaningful way. Some people might tell you that country music is like that, that hip hop is like that, and maybe all genres are in some sense like that. Me, I like the opposite of that, kind of is ambiguous lyrics. I don't like them to not be able to understand them at all, but I like them to just be like, I really don't know kind of what this song is about, but it's moving me in some way. And my favorite artists typically are like that. Yep, it's O'Brien's favorite music parade. U2. I can listen to a U2 song, and I'm not sure, is it about sex? Is it about drugs? Is it about God? Is it about his father? I have no idea, but somehow I'm identifying and moving and taking this emotional journey somehow that his poetry is leading me on. Another one, can I say this still? Has he been canceled? Ryan Adams. Ryan Adams. Go listen to Dear Chicago and La Cienega. I have kind of an idea what those two songs, or what's that other one? The one that Tim McGraw covered about blue. Dang. Anyway, I have no idea what those songs are about, but I cry. I cry. Why? How is that possible? So actually, there's a song, and I can't think of the name of it. I guess I should rehearse this stuff. And Till the Stars Go Blue. There you go. Till the Stars Go Blue. What the hell is that about? It's got clogs in it and all sorts of weird lyrics in it. But somehow it's strangely moving. And I remember one year I was given this spiel in an A&R class, and I said, yeah, country is more literal than, other kinds of music perhaps. And this one girl raised her hand and said, that's not true. There's this song by Tim McGraw called When the Stars Go Blue. It's not. I said, no. And I didn't know the song at that time. And I researched it and I said, oh, I guess I'll listen to this. And it was written by Ryan Adams. And it wasn't a very big hit for Tim McGraw because it just didn't fall into the pocket of what people enjoy about country music. Anyway, that's my spiel about literal versus ambiguous. Everybody has their preference for that. You should play off one strong idea. This is a trap I think a lot of younger songwriters run into, where they have this idea of something, but then they can't follow through with it or make it consistent throughout the song. So, for instance, I had a student send me some of their material for me to review, and there was a song that had like this criminal theme in the chorus, but it wasn't anywhere else. I mean, they would, if that's going to be the theme of your chorus, that somehow this love is criminal and whatever it might be, that should be the theme you're walking me through, not take different perspectives that don't include that at all and just are rambling. It doesn't reinforce whatever you're trying to convey under those circumstances. So, as opposed to Fiona Apple having a song called Criminal, that, that theme, that title, that everything permeates the entire song in one way or another. Avoid cliches and be original. I say that even though some of the most successful songs in the world are extremely cliche. I don't know if I told you this story. But back in the day, I had the A&R guy from RCA come in. He said, I got this new song by this group called Lone Star. We're going to release it next month. It's called Amazed. It's going to be a big hit. And I listened to it, the class listened to it, and I thought, my God, every line feels like it was taken from another song. And as it turns out, the writers did sit around in a room with candles going, listening to Bryan Adams and other love song things, and then said, let's get together and let's write the greatest love song ever. And so they wrote this, and it really seems as though they've cobbled lines from every song in the world, nothing original, all cliche. So I thought this song is going nowhere, and it turned out to be, I don't know, one of the biggest hits in the history of mankind. Go listen to it. Amazed by Lone Star. You're a little young for it. Not too bad. Maybe your parents played it when you were young. Maybe it'll bring back some childhood memories. Maybe you don't want childhood memories brought back. I don't know. I'm not responsible for that. But the song was a gigantic smash at country radio and crossed over into the pop world. It was a gigantic smash there. So it's really one of the most successful songs of the last 20 or 30 years. If you haven't heard it, just listen to it. Some of the explanation for that, if the lyrics aren't particularly original, is that the melody's pretty darn good. But there you go. All right, clever lines and wordplay. Um, yeah, so this is for many genres too. Garth Brooks, who um, said he keeps lines in his notebook or phone or whatever, and he said every great song has to have 4 or 5 great lines in it. So just save them up. Don't quit a song until you've got that. And I really believe that. I really believe that. That's what's going to separate you, is having just a few really interesting lines that have people see the world differently, you know? So that's what I look for. Some of my favorite songs really are wholly dependent upon the fact that there's 3 or 4 or 5 lines in it that just absolutely knock me dead. And so I don't even care if the rest of them aren't like that. I mean, everything can't be something that makes you think. You'd go crazy listening to a song. But if you take a song like One by U2, I mean, there's just several lines that just stick with you, make you think, make you feel, just amazing stuff. And so, especially with younger songwriters that, I try to mentor, I listened to a song that's happened a couple of months ago. It's a songwriter that I really, really, really like. And they played me this song, and I said, is there one line? Tell me what you think the best line of this song is. That's an original, great line. Tell me one. Just give me one out of that song. And they said, I can't tell you one. And I said, why would you write a song that doesn't have one great line in it? Why would you do that? So, yeah, I think it's really, really important to make sure that your song, because most songs are going to kind of be the same. They're not going to be about some subject matter that's new. They're not going to adopt a structure that nobody's had before. But what you got to do is you got to do something different. You got to have something different in there. And the way you do it is with some clever lines. And of course, probably hip hop is defined by this, is that the most successful hip hop artists are ones that have lines in it that you love, that you love to sing, that you think are interesting, funny, unique, insightful, whatever it might be. That's what separates the great hip hop artists from the ones that just sound like everybody else, is somehow doing something a little different. As far as that, the powerful lines, I don't know. There was some study done by ASCAP, who studies a lot of what goes into making great songs, and said that if you have a great line, the best place to put it is to put it in the first line of the song or the last line before the chorus. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just thought I'd share it with you if you guys are songwriters or you're thinking about evaluating a song, or when you're listening to songs in the future, you can apply that and see if that's true or not. Emotion, it's everything. It's everything to me anyway. Most art that I enjoy is something that does something to me emotionally. My son was trying to get me to watch Fast and Furious 7 the other night. I don't know which number it was. And no. Or The Avengers, that last movie, I haven't seen it yet. Star Wars, those movies don't move me. I do like them for entertainment, just like anybody else. I take me on a little popcorn ride, but the movies that, I really love are movies that move me emotionally. The songs that I really love are songs that move me emotionally. I think that's the way most people feel, but maybe you don't. If there's something else about music that gets you going, well, then you apply your own criteria to what that is. Maybe it's you like that beat of that song, the tempo, the rhythm that gets you going, or makes you want to punch somebody, or makes you want to dance, or makes you want to do whatever. So emotion, getting emotion out of a song. And you should listen to a song like, is anybody going to listen to any of these songs? Killing Me Softly, do you know that song? That song was a hit twice, once by Roberta Flack. That's a long listen. It's a long song, dirge-like. And second time by the Fugees, same song. And it's about this very notion that somebody's sitting and listening to somebody sing, and it feels like they're singing about their life. They're relating completely to the emotions that the artist is conveying, etc. So listen to that song to get a good idea of how people feel about music and how music moves them. And the emotions, it could be any emotion, by the way. It could be any emotion. It could be feeling love. It could be feeling sadness. It could be feeling nostalgic. It could be feeling anger. can be feeling lust. It can be any emotion that you're trying to move somebody to. Are those all emotions? Feeling happy? Oh, people love happy songs. Feeling happy, yes. I prefer the sad song because, you know, the sad songs say so much. That's Elton John. So, emotion. Paint a picture. Imagery. And, you know, that's important across all genres, whatever that picture might be. I think that Taylor Swift is excellent at that, at, you know, taking you through something where she's in high school and you just see and feel everything that she was going through, or going to New York, or well, any of her songs. You just, they're cinematic in scope in a way. And I think that's one of her gifts. Country music is a lot like that. And of course, you know, for something like country or hip hop, the kind of imagery that you're painting is kind of specific to that genre. So when country gets in trouble because they say, well, you're trying to paint a picture, you know what the picture they're painting? Well, there's some girls with some cut off jeans that are making me crazy, and there's a truck, and there's a beer, and, you know, they're painting the picture of something that resonates with people. And, you know, you can have a problem with it. Some people do, and I do, that it's a little too repetitive. But what they're doing is they're trying to put people in an element that people are familiar with or that people want to be in. And same with hip hop, where, you know, they have their own little stereotypes that people outside of the genre accuse them of. That, you know, there's some Hennessy, and there's a Mercedes, and there's a gold chain, and there's a gun, and there's a drug. So genres sometimes are specific to the kinds of imagery that become attractive in that song. Watch the syllables. Syllables, again, Bruce Springsteen early in his career, and even to a certain degree afterwards, was accused of, you know, these rambling songs where there were so many lyrics and so many syllables that it kind of obscured any kind of melody that could be there. And Billy Joel was once asked, what do you think Bruce Springsteen says? Too many syllables. That's what he said. And they do, from studies from ASCAP and other places, saying that for most genres of music, having between 7 and 11 syllables, crap, that's craps. 7, 11, come on. Between 7 and 11 syllables is, generally speaking, more attractive to the human ear, because it's all about the ear, what you do with the ear. Same thing is true with rhyming. Rhyme scheme that's easy to follow and that tickles your ear. People like rhymes. That's why poetry has been around so long. From the earliest days of written stuff, maybe even oral stuff and singing stuff. There's something about a rhyme. I don't know what it is. Read that book. Something about a rhyme that's pleasing to the brain. I think what it is that you're taking somebody down a road. There's a word. Taking somebody down the road again, and then if a word rhymes with it for some reason, oh, it feels good. I don't know why. It does. It does. So, you know, that rhyme scheme and the fact that there is rhymes is a very important part of a song. Not that you can't have songs that, you know, don't have that rhyme stuff in it. So some of my favorite singer-songwriters, some of my favorite songs don't follow a consistent rhyme scheme, and that's not the attractive part of the song. But it is an important part of a song. If I were in class, the way I usually do this is I have people listen to Snow Patrol, New York. I think that's the name of the song, New York, because it's really potentially such a great song. And I'm a Snow Patrol fan. I'm ashamed to admit it. It couldn't be more poppy. But the song New York, it could be a great song. It's got such a great melody. It's got a few great lines to it. But it's got two major problems that, you know, come right from this list. One of them is that it doesn't rhyme when you want it to rhyme. And the guy who's the head songwriter for Snow Patrol, he's a great rhymer. He has some songs with these really complicated internal rhymes that are just absolutely staggering. So he did it intentionally, but it's horrible. It's off-putting from the song and takes away from the flow and enjoyment of it. In addition to that, it's extremely repetitive, extremely, like, mind-numbingly repetitive in terms of the pre-chorus and the chorus. So if they just changed those two things, made this thing rhyme and made it less repetitive, I think it would have been like a hugely hit song, but they didn't. All right, this is too long already, 35 minutes. I thought it was going to be done quicker than this. So I'm going to break this up into a couple of spots. If you can, between this time and next time, you can listen to Apples and Girls. You can listen to Scrambled Eggs. You can listen to um, U2 and Ryan Adams. You can listen to Snow Patrol's New York. You could listen to the entire Fiona Apple album. I wish you well and good music, and I'll see you in a minute. I'm just turning this off and then going to start it up again and do the second half of this. So, hope you're watching.